You got hard, kid. Where you from?
Queens?
Brooklyn.
Where Brooklyn at? Where Brooklyn at? Where Brooklyn at? Where Brooklyn at? We gonna do it like this. Anytime you ready, check it.
YouTube, what up? Welcome back to another Pounds 978 custom video. And right now, I want to talk to you about Spider-Man. Yeah, but not just any Spider-Man. The original. The number one. The first ever Spider-Man in the world. Well, in the United States anyway. Ben Cooper's 1954 Spider-Man costume. A time when all costumes, or at least a majority of costumes in the United States, were being produced by Ben Cooper's company. They were cheaply made, they were pretty affordable, and rumor has it, Marvel may have copied this design. I don't know, that's speculation. There's a lot of secrets behind the scenes. Not too many people are even aware of this costume. This is like one of the most obscure Spider-Man designs, mainly because it's not from Marvel. When I saw it for the first time, I fell in love. For me, it was something that I always wanted to do, but seeing how difficult these webs looked, and they're not difficult, it's just there's so many that it becomes overwhelming if you don't pace yourself. But there are two alternate heads. The one on the right, I kind of just made up because I wanted something to go with those web lines. And then the one on the left was inspired by...
Scott with CircWorks. Did Marvel Comics rip off this guy, Spider-Man, from costume manufacturer Ben Cooper?
We sure do not know yet, Scott. Make sure to follow CircWorks art. This is his work right here, and that other alternate head was inspired by this. Flat yellow, flat black. I wanted to gloss out the black a little bit to give it that garbage bag look that the costume has, but I didn't do it. Figured it wasn't that serious. But Halloween is around the corner, and that's another reason why I wanted to bring this out to you guys. Made the bag head last minute, and adding the Spider-Man letters were probably the hardest part of this entire custom. I think the accuracy is good enough. The letters aren't thick enough, but I didn't have the space. The eyes are pretty cool. If you look really close in there, it looks like an old man, because I wanted this costume to feel like it belongs to someone who owned it when it was hot in the 50s, right? So that would make him almost 60 years old. So it would be an old man. And if you want to know what face that is Silvermane, the head that comes on the remote control car. It's probably the wrinkliest face that Hasbro's given us since the older Vulture. So it works. But here's how it all started. A little more accurate information on how this costume came to be. You can pause that and read it if you really want to know. Or I'll read it for you really fast. Hold on. It was by accident that Ben Cooper Incorporated got introduced to a new character called The Amazing Spider-Man. As chance would have it, Ben Cooper had already been distributing a custom Spider-Man costume for years since 1954. And to make the story even crazier, there have been rumors that Jack Kirby himself was the creator of it. Yep, you read that right. Kirby is rumored to have freelanced for Ben Cooper in early 1954 when he and Joe Simon were having financial problems with their independent comic company, Mainline Publications, located at 1860 Broadway, just a few miles from the Cooper factory. Looking for work, Kirby submitted ideas for potential costumes for the upcoming Halloween season. One of those ideas was in fact the Spider-Man character, loosely based on the Simon and Kirby Spider-Man Silver Spider the Fly concept that they created in the previous year in 1953. Whether this is true or not, we will never know. But in September of 1954, Ben Cooper Incorporated released the Spider-Man costume to retail outlets all across the country. And ironically, the Marvel Comics character looked very similar to that design. Makes you wonder why Kirby always said that he created the Spider-Man costume, right? But regardless of all this, Marvel now owned the legal rights to the name Spider-Man, or -man. When they published their character in 1962, and Ben Cooper Incorporated, for whatever reason, simply stopped producing their Spider-Man costume and licensed the likeness of the Marvel character, in September of 1963, the very first licensed product of Marvel Comics was distributed to stores in the form of a Ben Cooper Spider-Man costume. Here's another paragraph you can read if you want, but I'm not going to read it for you, just pause it. This is the guy that put all this together. He is from Saturday Morning Collectibles, out of Massachusetts too, so whoop whoop, shout out to you. But I did try to get in contact with them. As of yet, I still have no response.
Martin never told me anything. I was in a little room writing all the stories and nobody told me what was going on in the real world.
My best Stanley impression. But he said he asked him and that was what he responded with. So that's a little suspicious. And then Mr. Ditko responds with, "The burden of proof is on the person who makes the assertion, claim, or charge. Some clipping, etc. are not rational proof of anything but some clippings, etc. Wow. Now, I don't know, but those two responses seem very suspicious to me. And he's right. I mean, the burden of proof lies on the person who's making these accusations, but still, that's not saying if you know you created something, you're gonna say, man, I created this. This is mine. It's not, hey, if you got proof, then it's up to you to come up with the evidence. And that's what Steve Ditko's saying. And then Stan Lee's like, well, I don't know anything. I was just in a room making the stories up. So get that away from me. Leave the questions alone. Just basically throwing his hands up saying, I don't know anything. So in a way, it's like, wow, you guys know this belongs to somebody else. Here's what I believe. Because of the popularity of these costumes at the time, I can't fathom the idea that Steve Ditko and Stan Lee weren't aware of Ben Cooper's costumes. So I believe that they either subconsciously or consciously came up with their Spider-Man design based off Ben Cooper's costume. And they even knew to the point where they had to change the name to Spider-Man because Ben Cooper already had Spider-Man. Also, it's no coincidence, once the comic character Marvel's Spider-Man made his first appearance in 1962, Ben Cooper's company was no longer producing his yellow and black Spider-Man costume. What instead they were producing were Marvel costumes, but still had one costume that had a little yellow in it, which to me just says Ben Cooper because he was still keeping his yellow trademark in it. And here are the designs that Ben Cooper has created for Spider-Man. But again, it's all speculation. Same thing I believe with The Lion King and Kimba the White Lion. I think it was taken. One of Disney's biggest franchises were taken and they don't acknowledge it. But it's pretty obvious. So I think Marvel did the same thing with Spider-Man. But no one will ever know because Ben Cooper, you know, he took the money and ran with it. So I don't blame him. He probably needed it then. He probably didn't know what he was giving up. No one did. So whether I'm right or wrong, from here on out, I'm going to deem Mr. Ben Cooper responsible for making Spider-Man. And even Jack Kirby, because Jack Kirby was part of that whole thing before the Ben Cooper official costume. So Jack Kirby and Ben Cooper are my guys. But let's get right back to the action figure. That was a lot of history we just did. This figure's pretty cool. I didn't know what to do about this head, about painting the backside, because I haven't seen the backside of the costume. So I don't know what it looks like. From what it appears, it looks like there is no spider webs in the back. And so that's what I have here, just no spider webs in the back. But let's swap it out. You see the neck peg is kind of painted. I smudged it up a little bit on that side. No big deal. But let's put on this Circworks inspired head, because if you're not familiar with that bag head, you got to have at least a Spider-Man head to go with this. So that way you know it's Spider-Man. And all the articulation is pretty clean. I was able to eliminate, I want to say maybe about 90%, 99% of it. It may rub in a few areas, but as far as I'm concerned, this is pretty rub-free. And everything is painted from all the way up to the ab crunch to the backside. No crevice is left unpainted. The backside, everything has a web line. It all connects to something else. So this took me a couple days of just coming back and finishing the webs because it was a tedious job and it was becoming annoying. I thought it was going to be really easy, but it turned out to be a little more time consuming than I expected it to be. Happy with it. I wanted to shade it up as well, but that would have been really crazy. Which head do you like the best? Circworks inspired, the original bag head, or the one I came up with?
Hi, hello there.
Popping off that head is not a problem. You can pop on this head. This is from the Symbiote Spider-Man. Just painted the eyes yellow and then added those webs to match the suit. Because I felt like you needed a head that matched the suit completely. And I made this before I made the bag head. So I wasn't sure if the bag head was going to come out accurate. So in case it didn't, I had these two heads to go with the custom. So once again, grab yourself a silver mane head, a Silverio Manfredi. Then you add some sculpt. Don't cover the eyes. Don't cover the nose. Be very careful. So that way you don't have to paint new eyes. Because I suck at painting eyes. And that's what I got. Spider-Man next to Spider-Man. One is the original. The other one is the original. Which one do you prefer? I mean, of course, the red and blue's always gonna have a spot in my heart for nostalgia, right? It's the Spider-Man we all remember. Not too many people know about this black and yellow one. But I'm not gonna lie, I like black and yellow. Black and yellow's always been a good color combination, and I think it looks really well with this. If you don't like this head, we can always put on the bag head. And I know the bag head isn't for everyone because it doesn't really look like Spider-Man, especially the modern Spider-Man with the big eyes. But it does look like Baghead, right? Now it makes you think where they got that Baghead idea from. Well, not Baghead, I mean bombastic Bagman. Spider-Man when he was part of the Fantastic Four. And here's Spider-Man compared with some other toys. For no reason other than I really like those Storm collectibles. They're so much fun. But that is it, YouTube. Let me know your thoughts on this custom. Let me know your thoughts on the whole Spider-Man concept idea. Who came up with it? Was it Jack Kirby? Was it Steve Ditko? Was it Stan Lee? I mean, so many people. Was it Ben Cooper? Who created Spider-Man? We all know it belongs to Marvel and Stan Lee now, so of course we're gonna pay them the homage and the respect that they deserve. But I still think Ben Cooper and Jack Kirby were solely responsible for the name Spider-Man and the cobweb design. But I'll leave that up to you guys and everyone else. If you like this video, feel free to give a guy a thumb up and subscribe for more content. Until then, see you in the next video. Thanks.
You choose to subscribe, you the man. Yes, you. Everyone below in the comments, yes, you too. Thank you very much for showing me love. Who knew? It's ironic how we think out the box for you too, right?
Sing, 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 sing. Everybody.